Okay, I think we are ready to go. Good morning and welcome to Flight 93 National Memorial. My name is Stephen Clark and I have the honor of serving as the superintendent of the 5 national parks of Western Pennsylvania, to include Friendship Hill National Historic Site, Fort Necessity National Battlefield, Johnstown Flood National Memorial, Allegheny Portage Railroad National Historic Site, and finally, Flight 93 National Memorial. I've been so looking forward to this day, or I could say that the 9/11 National Memorial Trail alignments from 3 of the national park units in Western Pennsylvania have been completed. Well, as of a few days ago, I can state just that. The alignments at Allegheny Portage, Johnstown Flood, and here at Flight 93 National Memorial are indeed done. I'd like to thank our staff at the 3 parks for their commitment and dedication in completing these alignments. While we still have a few adjustments here and there, the vast majority of the signage and tread work has been accomplished, and I'm so proud of our team in so many ways. Not part of the speaking arrangement this morning, but I wanted to ask Mr. Patrick Sparks, the foreman here in maintenance, who oversees every blade of grass, every square inch of building. He's been here for about 14 years. And what I'd like to do at this time is ask Pat to come up on behalf of all administration, interpretation, all of the divisions that make up the National Park Service, and just share a few things from his sentiment of what this trail means to him and the honor that he and his people and all of us had working on these alignments. Pat?
Hello and good morning. Thanks Superintendent Clark for that. I'd like to also extend my thanks not only to my team, but our friends at Allegheny Portage and Johnstown Flood. We know those folks very well also. Matt and you guys, we couldn't have did it without them and their support. And as Steve said, they're working on their trail. We always think safety here at the National Park Service, and we tried to make the trail as safe as we could, because as many of you know, we are turning the older parking lot, if you will, now into kind of a newer parking lot that's going to accept bikes. So we've created a bike pad with racking, and we're also on the verge of creating another area near our trail remembrance. So both of those both projects have kind of coincided, if you will. But the 9/11 trail, the last 2 weeks, has been the top priority. And again, I appreciate Superintendent Clark and the other folks that have helped us. But we want to make it as safe as possible, and we're happy to do this. And we're looking forward to seeing a lot more bikes here at Flight 93. So thank you very much.
Without question, one of my all-time favorite U.S. Marines. Thank you, Patrick. As for the other National Park Service units that are planning on having the trail transit through their particular park units, like Valley Forge, Gettysburg, C&O Canal, Antietam, Delaware Water Gap, the National Mall, and many others, work is continuing to bring those alignments to fruition in the future as the partnerships continue to evolve. Before we proceed, I'd like to welcome several 9/11 National Memorial Trail Board members who are here with us today. Ms. Jane Sheffield, Brett Holleran, Carl King. I can't thank you all enough, and the entire board who were not able to be here today, for the constant communication and passion that we've had. Gosh dang, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I mean, it seems like it was just yesterday that Mr. Brickley walked into my office and told me for the very first time about the 9/11 trail. It was so inspiring that this gentleman, you could just tell the passion that exuded from his pores about his vision of this particular trail. Also, I'd like to acknowledge 3 Somerset County Commissioners, Pam Tokar-Eckes, Irvin Kemmel, and Brian Fochtman, who will hear providing remarks here in a few moments. So once again, thank you all for being with us this morning. So exactly what is the 9/11 National Memorial Trail, and why is it so important? President Biden signed the National Memorial Trail into law on October 13, 2021. The legislation reads, and I quote, "For a tribute to the family members and loved ones who were victims of the attack and the heroes of September 11, including the first responders in the days, weeks, and months after the attack. To be a trail of remembrance to honor the fallen in a tangible way that keeps their memories alive and reaffirms the exceptionalism to this great country." The 9/11 National Memorial Trail is a 1,500-mile trail system and of trails and roadways that symbolize perseverance and character while linking the National September 11th Memorial and Museum in New York City, the National 9/11 Pentagon Memorial in Arlington, Virginia, and here at Flight 93 National Memorial in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. The trail serves as a tribute to the 2,977 individuals who died that day, and of those, 441 police officers, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel who perished on 9/11, trying to save and rescue others in their time of need. The trail offers walkers, runners, and cyclists a safe, accessible opportunity to experience beautiful landscapes, discover new towns, and visit historic sites of American resilience along the way. The nonprofit September 11th National Memorial Alliance works very closely with local, state, and federal governments, federal agencies, and fellow trail organizations to make the 1,500-mile vision a reality. It is, has been, and will continue to be a labor of love and a powerful and meaningful way to honor all of those who died on 9/11. I'd also like to take a moment to thank Debbie Borza, mother of Diora Bosley, the youngest passenger on Flight 93, who was 20 years old. Debbie has served on the Alliance Board of Directors of the National Memorial Trail for many years and continues to play a pivotal role in the continued progress of the trail. Today, Debbie lives in California, and although she is not able to be with us this morning, she shares her gratitude to so many and asked me to share a few words with all of you this morning. Quote, "It has been both an honor and a privilege to walk and work alongside so many amazing individuals furthering the mission of the 9/11 National Memorial Trail so that we can all remember, discover, and connect to that day. I connect with my daughter Diara when I walk the trail, find my favorite spot to sit, and look out onto the beauty in front of me and remember her with love." End quote. To Debbie, and I know I can speak for so many here, thank you for everything you do for Flight 93 National Memorial, and certainly the 9/11 National Memorial Trail. Our first speaker this morning is Mr. Jeff McCauley, the September 11th National Memorial Trail Alliance President. Jeff is responsible for executing the strategic plan for the development of the 9/11 National Memorial Trail to its fullest capacity, which includes completing remaining sections of the 1,500-mile Memorial Trail. He works with public and private stakeholders and partners organizations to make sure the 9/11 National Memorial Trail moves forward smoothly and expeditiously. Jeff resides in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and is a graduate of Duquesne University. He has managed trail development stewardship projects throughout the Pittsburgh region and brings his own skill set to the September 11th National Memorial Trail Alliance to help develop the trail and its historical significance. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Jeff McCauley.
Thank you for joining today. This year marks 23 years since the tragic day of September 2001. I'd like to give thanks to the heroes on board Flight 93 and to the first responders of the World Trade Center building today. The actions of these brave men and women saved countless lives. I'm almost 37 years old, and I still remember exactly where I was and what I was doing on that day. However, each passing year, more and more people will be born who will only learn about these unfortunate events from someone else. As a nation mourned the loss of family members, friends, and colleagues, a patriotic concept came to life. The concept to remember, further educate our future generations formed the basis for the development of the September 11th National Memorial Trail and the September 11th National Memorial Trail Alliance. The organization envisions the 9/11 Trail will connect the three memorial sites of the Flight 93 National Memorial, the Pentagon Memorial, and the September 11th National Memorial Museum. The trail will be a world-class experience developed as a trail of remembrance to honor those who gave their all for freedom on September 11th, 2001, for their families and first responders, and for the generations before them who sacrificed to protect our freedom and American values. The trail can also be an important recreational and transportation catalyst promoting tourism, economic development, healthy bodies and minds, and cultural, historical, and educational opportunities for generations to come. The Alliance took a large step in advancing the development of the trail by working with Congress on bipartisan legislation in 2021 to make the trail federally designated and create a lasting relationship with the National Park Service. With the full support of the National Park Service behind the September 11th National Memorial Trail, the organization looks to continue to work together into the future. Developing this trail has been a rewarding experience. Together, we are working alongside stakeholders of different socioeconomic classes, political views, ages, backgrounds, and ethnicities. I believe this is a great way to honor the fallen heroes of that day, because after that day, people of the U.S. were united and determined for one cause, and our vision continues to empower many to remain united and determined to finish this memorial for the great heroes of that tragic day.
Thank you, Jeff. us just moments ago, Ben, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Ben Wanio. His daughter, Honor Elizabeth, was on Flight 93. Ben emailed me this morning and said that he and his family were going to be down at the crash site at the Sacred Ground, honoring his daughter. And I just happened to see Ben come in and stand there in the back. Sir, I hope you don't mind me acknowledging you, but thank you so much for all your support to the memorial and to all you do as well, sir. Thank you. Our next speaker, Mr. Doug Bosley, is the supervisory park ranger and site manager at Allegheny Portage Railroad National Historic Site and Johnstown Flood National Memorial. Doug was instrumental in coordinating and planning the construction of the final portion of the Path of the Flood Trail, which is actually also part of the 9/11 National Memorial Trail. This success came with the support of the Friends of Johnstown Flood National Memorial and the Cambria County Conservation and Recreation Authority. Along with the park planning team, he also assisted in laying out the route of the 9/11 trail through Allegheny Portage Railroad National Historic Site. As a member of the interpretation team, Doug leads hikes on the trails at both parks. Doug resides in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and is a graduate of the University of Pittsburgh, Johnstown. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ranger Doug Bosley.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning. As Steve mentioned, I have the honor of serving as the site manager and chief of interpretation at Allegheny Portage Railroad National Historic Site and Johnstown Flood National Memorial. We have two fantastic stories at these two sites. At Allegheny Portage Railroad, it is the story of an inclined plane railway built in the 1830s as part of the Pennsylvania Main Line Canal between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. First railroad over the Allegheny Mountains, it carried canal boats from one part of the canal to another and helped reduce travel time across Pennsylvania from 23 days to around 5. The story of the Johnstown flood is about the 2,209 men, women, and children who perished after the failure of a poorly maintained dam owned by some of the wealthiest and most powerful industrialists of the day. It is also the story of the recovery and relief efforts. Millions of dollars from around the nation and around the world helped Johnstown rebuild, and its residents have a roof over their heads, clothes on their backs, and food on the table. We are looking forward to sharing these amazing stories with a new group of visitors, those who will be arriving at our sites by way of or because of the 9/11 National Memorial Trail. At Allegheny Portage Railroad, 2 sections of the trail have been complete for many years. The Staple Bend Tunnel Trail was finished in 2001 and includes the first railroad tunnel in the United States. The bicycle portion of the Incline 6 to 10 Trail was finished 15 years ago, and now the final touches are being put on a vastly improved Summit Level Trail, the final piece of the 9/11 National Memorial Trail at Allegheny Portage Railroad. It took 22 years to complete the Path of the Flood Trail, linking the remains of the South Fork Dam with the stone bridge in downtown Johnstown. The first part completed was the Staple Bend Tunnel Trail in 2001. In 2023, the last section was completed to the remains of the dam and the empty lake bed. It was a pleasure to work with our park partners, including the Friends of Johnstown Flood National Memorial and the Cambria County Conservation and Recreation Authority, to get this trail completed. Visitors can now walk or ride a bike along the 14-mile route of the floodwaters from the South Fork Dam to Johnstown. We invite everybody to come visit our trails and learn more about these amazing stories. Thank you.
mentioned the significant work and dedication of the Johnstown Flood Friends Group. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the amazing support from Flight 93 National Memorial Friends Group. In particular, Ms. Donna Gibson, the president of the Friends Group. Courtney, thank you so much for all that you do, ma'am. But, you know, across the national parks, there's 429 of park units. And so often, it's the Friends Group, the Friends Groups, who really are behind so much of the support that the National Park Service receives. So again, to those in the Johnstown Flood Friends Group, as well as to all of those in the Flight 93 Friends Group, my sincere appreciation and gratitude. Our next speaker, Somerset County Commissioner Brian Fochtman. Brian was born and raised in Somerset County. He attended the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown and went on to serve in the Pennsylvania State Police for 25 years, retiring in 2019 as a master trooper. During Commissioner Fochtman's tenure in the state police, on a regularly scheduled day off, after hearing about Flight 93 crashing near Shanksville, he quickly reported for duty. He was assigned to escort the first responders and their equipment to the crash scene. Trooper Fochtman was later charged with the duty of transporting the black box from the aircraft back to the Pennsylvania State Police Barracks to be secured. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Commissioner Brian Fochtman.
As was stated, on the September 11th, I was a Pennsylvania State Trooper. I look around and I see the campaign covers, and I think I would be much more comfortable wearing my campaign cover than I am right now. But what an honor. What an honor it is for me to come here and speak to you today. Every time I come back here, I'm transported back in time and to that day. And what a tragedy it was. Our county, Somerset County, has been involved with the trail system since its inception. I just want to give you a quick timeline of how this all transpired as far as our end as the county. First conceived in 2010, the trail has been an ongoing work of determination, duty, and reverence. Somerset County and its citizens have been involved in every step of the process. In 2012, the county matched a $50,000 DCNR grant for a feasibility study. In 2014, the community of Berlin supported utilizing an abandoned railroad connection from the Great Allegheny Passage trailhead from Garrett to Berlin. In 2015, CSX Transportation donated 130 acres of that abandoned railroad corridor, and in 2016, those deeds were received by Somerset County. In 2017, an additional $530,000 in funding was acquired for the Garrett to Flight 93 Memorial connection. In 2020, ground was broken for a 1.4-mile section of connection of that 9/11 trail and the Great Allegheny Passage Trail. In 2021, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony for the first section of the purpose-built trail. Currently, we are pursuing grants to complete the rest of the section between Garrett and Berlin. We've come a long way since 2010, and we have a long way to go until we reach completion of the trail. My wish is that as many people as possible can visit the 3 terrorist attack sites, the Pentagon, the World Trade Centers, and right here in our very own Flight 93 Memorial. Come and absorb the history, listen to the sounds, smell the aroma, and view the sights. Once we do this, my hope is that we can return to the country that we were on September 12th. One nation, under God, indivisible, and beautifully united. God bless all of you for coming today, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Commissioner. Our final speaker is Mr. David Brickley, the founder and president emeritus of the September 11th National Memorial Trail Alliance. David conceived the 9/11 Trail while serving as the director of the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation. Under his leadership, from 1998 to 2002, the state was awarded the National Gold Medal for the best managed state park system in the entire United States. Prior to his work in the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, David served as an elected member of the Virginia House of Delegates from 1976 through 1998. He was the legislative sponsor, co-founder, and chairman of the Virginia Railway Express, Virginia's commuter rail system, and authored legislation creating Pennsylvania State Park. The Rails to Trails Conservancy named Mr. Brickley one of its top 25 Rails to Trails champions. Graduate of Penn State University and George Mason University School of Law, David served in the United States Air Force with a tour of duty in Vietnam, where he received the Bronze Star. When not advocating for trails or practicing law, David is an avid hiker and national speaker on trail and conservation issues. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to welcome Mr. David Brickley to the podium.
Superintendent Clark, commissioners, honored guests all, our heroes in Flight 93 and our two other sites. Debbie Borza, you're probably listening to this right now. I know your daughter is up there looking down and smiling. This is a day that is very special for so many of us. I should first mention, because it is a partnership, that two of our other board members are with us from the September 11th National Memorial Trail Alliance. Matt Harris, our newly elected chairman, he was there. Where is he now? And there he is. Okay. And Dan Willey, who is one of our original board members, been a fantastic supporter. Today is the culmination of a goal that started, a quest, 23 years ago. I was, as the superintendent had mentioned, heading up the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. I love trails and greenways. We had done a lot of state conferences, and I suggested we ought to have a multi-state conference. So it was roundly received by so many people and states, and we went ahead and started the planning team putting it together. Pennsylvania was a part of it. The National Park Service was very much a part of it. And 7 other states were hosts to this. And it was scheduled to be at the Crystal City Marriott up in Northern Virginia. And if anybody knows where that is, if you don't know where it is, it's about 2 blocks south of Allegheny. And the date for this conference was to be September 16th through 19th, 2001. Well, that tragic, horrific event happened several days earlier. We had a conference call among the different governor's offices, and we agreed we weren't going to let them put us down. We were going to go ahead and put it on. And although we had problems with keyboard speakers in Germany and Europe and all over not being able to get here, because remember we had a no-flight zone and all kinds of other things, we had a huge crowd there. And at the end of that very successful conference, I said, we've got to find a way to merge our love of trails and greenways with this horrific event that happened just days earlier. And so that was the vision of the 9/11 trail. We formed a board of directors, formed the alliance, started working with people left and right. I will tell you there was one person, one entity, or one organization that turned us down, saying, let's go ahead and do it. And if there is an example of how a partnership can work, I believe that the 9/11 trail is it. So we worked. We had to go through, and then we realized we needed to get federal legislation. And so we did. 13th of 2021 in the Oval Office. Some of our members were there at that day. President Biden signed the legislation. And this is the legislation that the superintendent had mentioned. This is it right here. And what a wonderful thing. And with that then, meant that this relationship, this partnership that we're working together with the National Park Service could really go full bore. Now, I will tell you, Superintendent Clark was on board right from the very beginning, and so were his other colleagues too. But this made it official. This gave us some funding support, gave us all the other type of support that we wouldn't have got otherwise. And with that, now, today, the culmination is we can go and see what's done. And Superintendent Clark, I've always said you are one of my heroes. You really, when you get into something, you don't let it go. And you are just an inspiration, I think, for any other superintendent or any other Park Service member in our great Park Service service that we've got within the National Park Service, because you really know what it's about. But the people got together, and I just, before coming up here, I drove down to see the bike racks, to see the signage, to see the bike tracks for cycling and walking that's on the pavement, and it's what it's all about. So we're at that point where this working together can only be better, and it's because of that partnership. And it's because of that remembrance that we want to have for those heroes of 9/11. For that ability to say, you're not going to get us down. We're going to come back with a fortitude like you've never seen before. And I think that's what America is all about. So we're honoring those heroes of 9/11. But as our citizens and those from around the world come on the 9/11 trail, they're going to be staying at the B&Bs in Berlin, or the Holiday Inn, or wherever it happens to be, not only just in the Flight 93 geographic area, but going that entire 1,500 miles. Antietam, Gettysburg, Valley Forge, they're all there. And this will be, especially for Western Pennsylvania, because sometimes it's a tough road to hoe for economic development in Western Pennsylvania. This is a way to be able to improve that vitality of the community, bring those tourist dollars in, enjoy the beauty of this part of our country, and at the same time as they're going on the trail of Flight 93, remember those heroes. Remember the resilience that America has. Remember what America is all about. And never forget. Thank you very much. This is a wonderful day.
As we close here this morning, I want to thank each of you once again for attending today's event. But I also personally want to thank all the members of the press who are here covering this story. For you see, your profession holds a very special place in my heart, as I am the son of a newspaperman. My dad wrote for the Philadelphia Daily News for close to 50 years. Although he passed away a few years ago, I know that he would have absolutely loved to have covered this story. He so loved his country, the American flag, and so loved to cover stories that illustrate how individuals come together in the spirit of harmony for the right reasons. Service over self. I can imagine him leaning up against that wall, right over there, with his button-down collared shirt, his khaki pants, and his worn-out loafers. I can also see a pack of Lance crackers in his pocket and him taking notes on an old reporter's notepad, and most importantly, embracing every single word that Pat, Jeff, Doug, so eloquently and passionately stated. Finally, as we conclude this press conference, there is still work to be done on the September 11th National Memorial Trail. But today marks an important step forward, solidifying the partnership of the Alliance and imagining the day that the entire 1,500-mile alignment is complete. At this time, I'd like to turn the podium over to Ranger Katie Hostetler, this particular memorial's public information officer, who will coordinate any questions you may have. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Steve. I'm actually going to leave the podium to anyone that is answering questions. So I open it up to you all. If you have any questions, I will hopefully come to you and the microphone will ideally work. But if you have any questions, please. Okay. Well, thank you. Oh, do you have a question?
So how many bicyclists have we seen? How is it being advertised to let more people know?
Okay, did you guys hear that?
One of the major goals of the Alliance is to spread awareness of the trail and its meaning for the heroes of that day. One way we do that is through hosting tours of the trail. Today actually marks the completion of a tour of 1,250 miles of trail rail. And several individuals are arriving at the Pentagon Memorial around 12 p.m. today. And so through tours like that, we continue to raise awareness with local, state, and federal officials about the trail and the capability for people to use it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Do you guys have any questions? Okay. Well, thank you for coming out here today. We also welcome you to go down to the Memorial Plaza and see the trail that we've finished here at Flight 93. Thank you.
Thank you.